Well, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Before we get to study, there's some announcements I'd love to make.
This brief documentary highlights the life and teaching of Rabbi Herman Schaalman, a 100-year life that crossed over many boundaries and even today provides a model, inspiration, and guide. Webster's dictionary defines a boundary as a point beyond which most people do not usually go. Rabbi Schaalman crossed remarkable boundaries, as you will see, whether as a gifted student, a brilliant scholar and speaker, a remarkable teacher, or a legendary interfaith leader. He also broke all known age boundaries by tossing a great pitch at a Chicago Cubs game at his 95th birthday. Born in Munich, Germany, Herman Schaalman grew up in an Orthodox Jewish household where his father, a prominent professor of mathematics, provided his children with religious training along with the secular study of Latin and Greek. But as Hitler rose to power in the mid-1920s, living in Munich became increasingly threatening for Jews. Such threats did not prevent Herman from joining a seminary after he graduated from high school to become an Orthodox rabbi. But in his first year in the seminary, fate intervened in a monumental way. He and 4 other gifted students were chosen to study for the rabbinate in the United States. That life-saving intervention from the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati was an effort by the American Jewish community to rescue young prospective leaders from the growing dangers in Germany. Starting in 1935, there comes another major boundary crossing for Herman Schaalman. He had been raised in an Orthodox home and knew German, Latin, and Greek. Suddenly, at Hebrew Union College, he needed to learn English and also had to become a rabbi in what for him was a radical tradition, Reform Judaism. Herman excelled and was ordained in 1941. After his ordination, the rabbi married Lotte Schaalman, who he had met in Cincinnati after she too emigrated from Germany. The couple moved to a congregation in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where there the rabbi launched an active interfaith programming that was to become a signature of his leadership throughout his life. Following 8 years in Iowa, another boundary was to be crossed. The Schaalmans moved to Chicago, where the rabbi became the Midwest director of the Union of American Hebrew Congregations, and later the senior rabbi at Emmanuel Congregation in Chicago. In his national roles, he met and advised Presidents Reagan and Clinton, and became lifelong close friends with the international author and Holocaust survivor, Elie Wiesel. He also won numerous local and national awards for his service to interfaith and social justice causes. In 1952, Rabbi Schaalman crossed what was to be considered his most significant boundary. He founded the first Reformed Jewish summer camp in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. This is now called the Owen Sang Ruby Union Institute and is a model for 18 similar camps throughout the nation. Crossing boundaries didn't end there. The rabbi's unique, enduring close friendship with Cardinal Joseph Bernardin, the head of the Chicago Archdiocese, broke new ground for interfaith relationships nationwide. This included their traveling to Jerusalem on a nationally reported trip. And much later, when the cardinal became seriously ill, he requested that Rabbi Schaalman deliver a eulogy at his funeral service. This was the first time a rabbi had officiated at a service for a major Catholic theologian and set a precedent for the entire nation. A roll call of Rabbi Schaalman's other boundary crossing goes on and on. For 30 years, he served Emmanuel Congregation on the North Shore of Chicago. For 50 years, he taught interfaith topics at Catholic and Presbyterian seminaries in Greater Chicago. For 55 years, every Saturday, he led a popular morning Torah study class. And for 75 years, he shared an amazing love affair and marriage with his wife, Lotte, extending to their 100-year birthday celebration.
The most powerful memory of that trip to the Holy Land was when they were on the Via Dolorosa, or the Way of the Cross. And some of the conservative rabbis were very uncomfortable there. because for all their lives they felt they'd been portrayed as Christ killers. And were not going to walk that path. Herman put his arm around Bernadine, and they walked the way of the cross. I have a picture of them in a documentary that I did, of the two of them arm in arm. I thought that was one of the most amazing and powerful statements of friendship and faith, because Herman knew who he was. It didn't compromise his Jewishness. And Bernadine knew who he was and didn't see in any way that this would or would want it to co-opt Herman. What they understood was they were in a moment in time, in a place that had such significance, and the fact that they today, or that day, could put their arms around each other in a way that hadn't happened all that time ago was pretty remarkable. And I thought stunningly beautiful.
I always remember just one thing that he said. He started out by saying, Cardinal Bernardine was a gem in God's jewel box. And there he was, directly below the crucified Christ in the Cathedral of the Holy Name. It was unparalleled. It was unprecedented. But it spoke to the relationship of Rabbi Schaalman and Joseph Cardinal Bernardine. It spoke to the relationship of the Jewish community and the Catholic community at that time that witnessed the love between these two individuals. Joseph Bernardine had a great friend in Herman Schaalman, and I believe, and I know, that it was reciprocal.
I'm willing to bet that some kind of interfaith work existed before Rabbi Schaalman got involved. But in terms of an impact, I'm not aware of anyone who's had more. By the way, he's often suggested that Chicago has a unique role in its conviction that things can work, that people can connect about this issue.
So when he talks about faith, it is for many people as they listen, and this was true in his congregation as well, to just simply be an extraordinarily moving, inspiring process.
He did the thing that I didn't know at the time that great teachers do, which is that he asked questions. He wouldn't just give you answers. He wouldn't just tell you what to do or what to think. He would answer a question with another question that would make you think deeper about whatever the topic was. Because he's such a good teacher, he's a great listener. He really listens to people. He hears what they have to say. I remember in some days just watching him listen to different people and voices, because he, as a teacher, he wants to know where you're coming from and what you know and what you're learning, what you're not learning. So maybe in some way, I think about being a listener with him, because it's important to hear.
So this is a really remarkable moment, and I just want us to be aware of the fact that while these are just pages and verses and so forth from now on, they have a different kind of spice, a different kind of tenor, and therefore also, I imagine, a different impact. We are no longer reading somebody's story, we are reading our own.